There's a growing movement from a group of lawyers to have Donald Trump impeached once again for a third time, as if that will bring a stop to the madness that we're experiencing now. And I am somebody who, in 2025, critiqued a number of other creators, disagreed with other folks who were saying that we should push to impeach Trump, and that was a viable pathway. I was really against that. I thought that it was a waste of energy. And let's set aside for a moment the fact that Donald Trump has already been impeached twice, and that did what? Fuck all. But let's look at what the actual process is for impeachment. And again, I'm not an attorney. I am not an expert on U.S. government, so I will read to you from the Pacific Legal Foundation's website. So here's what some actual lawyers have to say. Impeachment is a formal charge of wrongdoing, not a conviction of that wrongdoing. For example, if you're charged with shoplifting, you're not automatically guilty of shoplifting. You are entitled to a trial. Impeachment proceedings work the same way. And impeachment does not mean a president is immediately removed from office. It simply is the formal process for charging a president for possible official wrongdoing. If convicted, they are then removed from office and in theory can then face separate criminal charges if warranted. The Constitution charges the House of Representatives with the sole power to investigate and, if necessary, to impeach a president by charging them with committing treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. Once the House of Representatives votes and passes articles of impeachment against the president is then entitled to a trial. Once impeached, the accused president is tried by the full Senate, which is presided over by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, John Roberts. If convicted by a 2/3 majority, the president is then removed from office. After that happens, by the way, then the vice president becomes the president. Do you see why I was saying in 2025 that this was a fruitless endeavor, a waste of energy? There were big billboards around Portland encouraging people to support impeaching Trump. Like, that's all well and good, but we have a Republican-controlled House and Senate who have shown over and over that they are going to surrender all of their power. They have all of the power of Congress, and they are abdicating their duty and surrendering that power to Donald Trump willingly. Any effort running on the assumption that the House of Representatives would go through with an impeachment and then that the Senate would vote 2/3 to convict, like that's just magical thinking. But now it's 2026 and we're rolling into the midterms this year. And so I'm seeing a resurgence of calls to impeach Donald Trump and or to invoke the 25th Amendment. This clip I'm going to show you here is from a group of attorneys from Free Speech for People who are once again calling for impeachment. They claim they have 25 plus reasons why Donald Trump should be impeached and removed from office.
Now, let us share with you the 25 grounds for impeachment that are documented at impeachtrumpagain.org, compiled by the constitutional lawyers at Free Speech for People. These are serious constitutional violations that demand accountability.
Unlawfully aggregating and disseminating private data in violation of individual privacy and liberty rights.
Abusing his power to remove nonpartisan civil servants, punish perceived adversaries, and reshape federal agencies.
Depriving citizens of their birthright citizenship.
Engaging in unlawful, corrupt practices during the 2024 presidential campaign.
Abusing his power in order to deprive the American public of accurate political, historic, scientific, and medical information.
Engaging in corruption for his own and his close associates' personal enrichment.
Blocking efforts to secure U.S. elections.
Illegally kidnapping, detaining, and removing U.S. residents, migrants, and asylum seekers to foreign prisoners.
Co-opting and dismantling independent government oversight of businesses, government institutions, and law enforcement.
Abusing the power of his office to unlawfully maintain political power.
Committing or planning war and humanitarian crime.
Unconstitutionally and systematically violating the First Amendment.
Imposing unlawful tariffs.
Receiving foreign and domestic emoluments.
Unconstitutionally usurping local and state authority.
Unconstitutionally usurping Congress's power.
Using his power in order to undermine public health and safety.
Calling for the execution of members of Congress.
Abusing the emergency power.
Unconstitutionally usurping Congress's power to declare war. Committing treason by levying war against the United States, individual states, and their people.
Abusing the pardon power.
Abusing investigatory and prosecutional powers. And lastly, defying court orders, threatening judges, and unconstitutionally usurping judicial authority.
Regardless of whether or not Congress is willing to do their duty and impeach Donald Trump, I think it's really important for these attorneys to draw attention to highlight in a very sensible, reasonable way the factual list of ways that Donald Trump has committed impeachable offenses. Right. I do understand and appreciate and agree with the utility of saying like, hey, this is illegal. This is unconstitutional. What he's doing right now is an impeachable offense. This is not acceptable. If we had a functional Congress that was not working with Donald Trump to engage in an authoritarian takeover of this country, he would have been impeached 25 times over in the last year. I think it's very important that we refuse to normalize his illegal actions and that we speak clearly and accurately about the fact that they are impeachable offenses. That's entirely different than expecting that if we call for an impeachment that Republicans are going to do their fucking job and impeach him. Republicans are entirely in Donald Trump's pocket. Leftist influencer Chris Valenti the other day said that Donald Trump can do whatever he wants and like Congress is powerless. I completely disagree. Congress has all of the power. Congress could stop this madness at any time. They could have stopped it 25 times in the last year. Congress is choosing not to exercise their power. They are choosing to hand over their power to Donald Trump. And just like we, the people, can reclaim our power from Congress, Congress can just claim back their power and choose to leverage it. It is a conscious choice from Keebler Elf Mike Johnson and Senator John Thune and all of the Republicans in the House and the Senate to not obey the Constitution, to abandon their oath to their constituents. That is a choice that Republicans are making. They are not just collaborators with fascism. They are active, willing participants in the destruction of democracy. By failing to check the executive, they are betraying all of us. So no, I don't agree that Donald Trump is a dictator and Congress is powerless. Congress is the one who is empowering Donald Trump to be a dictator. Congress is the one who is refusing to do their job. This could all be over if Congress did their job. So now that we're moving toward the 2026 midterms, and so now as we're moving toward the 2026 midterms, we understand that Congress is actually the most powerful of the three branches. Now the uber conservative, fringe activist 6 judges on the Supreme Court are desperately trying to make the executive the most powerful branch. They are trying to hand all of this power to Donald Trump and to make him a king. But Congress actually still could stop any of it, including expanding the Supreme Court. Congress could come in and check the Supreme Court in multiple different ways, and they absolutely could instantly, swiftly check the executive. So as we're moving into an election year where the Republicans are realizing they're totally fucked if they have a free and fair election cycle. So they're trying to gerrymander in Texas and wherever else they can. Donald Trump sees that this is a bad scene for the would-be fascists because Congress still has the power. So if Republicans, the fascists, lose control of the House and maybe even the Senate, then what happens? The authoritarian plan crumbles. The authoritarian advancement of Donald Trump's Project 2025 plan falls apart because there will be a restoration of checks and balances. We're in this position because our founding fathers did not envision a scenario in which none of the branches would work to check each other. That's their flaw. That's their bad, right? So it's on us, the people, to fix it. And we can talk about the reforms that we will need in the coming years and decades to make sure that this never happens again. But first, we have to get out of this position that we're in. Impeachment is a viable path to stop all of this, but it requires that we have a functional House and Senate. And how do we get that? The 2026 midterms. I don't think electoralism on its own will save us. I do think it is a key component of getting us out of this mess. So that means we get real involved in the primaries. We get real involved in volunteering. We're all poll watchers. We're all willing to canvass for different elected officials. We're willing to phone bank. We are out there involved in democracy, not just voting on election day, but doing all of that work leading up to the midterms. This is a key element to get us to a place where we could even begin discussing impeachment. We have to focus on the midterms first.